Okay, it is November 4th, 2018. This is a video diary entry. And so today, or I should say that my last entry, I spoke about 8th grade, Christy Reynolds, Tom Farley, Tracy Picos, the Parnoid Schizofrenia tactics with Tom Farley, working with Tracy Picos to use her last name to send me hidden messages about me being attracted to Christy Reynolds and looking at her, which, yeah, sure, was a little strange and weird, but of course it's nothing like my mother said, which is an evil, mean death stare with death threats and thugging, and I tried to kill her and this and that. You know, it's more like, I don't remember what the movie is called, the one where when the pop singer, the famous pop singer's in it, Burlesque, where he says cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs because the guy's checking out, well, he thinks he's checking out the girl or whatever, something like that. But my mother and my family call it a death stare because whatever reasons they're so angry at me, they like to smear my name and try to, or have literally turned the world against me in angry rages over things that just don't matter, okay? Which lead up to this entire worldwide operation that Kevin's full of anger and rage, and he needs to be watched and put on watch lists and followed and set up and provoked to prove that he's like the Incredible Hulk, and when he gets angry he changes because he has a split personality disorder and turns into an actual green hulking monster, right? The types of crap my father actually was saying about me. But the thing you need to understand is that my father, with my mother and brother, all have psychology degrees, and they use them as weapons against those they don't like. And where things really get strange is where these are police and government operations helping. That's the part that doesn't make sense, where the entire psychology community worldwide refuses to be honest with anyone helping me, and every single person in the psychology community, it ends up to be more and more cover-up operations with people working with them, threatening my life. You don't talk, you're a snitch and you're dead. Well, the first thing is, there's no such thing as being a snitch for finding out there's mass groups trying to kill you. And second of all, I don't know anyone on this planet who would just sit there and say, oh, there's mass groups trying to kill me, I'll accept it and be a man, right? Yeah, sure, okay. And so, this is some of their brainwashing, that they try to make me think that they're trying to help me while trying to kill me or end my existence. And the same thing is, you know, Adolf Hitler telling the Jews that he's taking them to the showers so he can keep them clean and it's for them. That's kind of a good analogy to what the psychology community with worldwide support is doing to me. So anyways, Christy Reynolds. There was one important thing I completely forgot to talk about, which is the most important aspect of this. After Christy Reynolds asked me, you know, why do you keep looking at me, blah, 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 and I was embarrassed to tell her that she's cute and I'm attracted to her, which I find out is one of my imperfection crimes I need to be exterminated over in the laundry list of 100,000 similar things that nobody normally could care less about. This situation applies to all these endless situations. And by the way, I'm on the freeway now, so I hope the wind in a convertible, so I hope I don't have to redo this because of the wind. But anyways, that kind of gives you an idea. All the way back in 8th grade, I don't know how old I was, 12 or something, and this applies to pretty much my daily life, right? You go to a coffee shop and you read a book and rest your feet up on a chair. so therefore you committed a crime and need to be hunted and killed with worldwide support because that's inappropriate behavior and nobody will tolerate that kind of inappropriate behavior. And the retaliation for me resting my feet up on a chair reading a book was 10 years at every coffee shop in the world. When people see me, they put their feet up on a chair, and then it progressed into 1 foot up on a chair, and you can see it's directed at you because when people see you walk in the room, they put their feet up on a chair to let you know that they're taking turns in their anger and rage on you, right? So if you ask any sane, rational, stable person if someone resting their foot up on a chair at a coffee shop outside or even inside, but really more so, let's keep it to the context of my situation, outside, reading a book, in the sun, under an umbrella, saying you exerted inappropriate behavior is not only the end-all, be-all of stupidity, but clearly these people know that I haven't done anything wrong when they're fabricating these lies to give to the world. Hence, the fact they're giving them to the world says all anyone needs to know, that these people are stalking me and they're looking for ways to end my life and do it in the gray areas of the law or in such a way that it is invisible or it looks like I just killed myself or something bad happened and I went to jail and I'm a crazy man. Hence, the entire definition of gang stalking or gaslighting or community harassment groups, cause stalking. There's several unofficial terms because this isn't the type of thing that happens all the time. It's very rare, especially with Kevin Perlman, a guy that has literally a planet full of people trying to kill him in secret, is beyond any level of strange known to man. Okay, so basically after what my family calls a death stare to Christy Reynolds, hence there's no dating women if you're not even allowed to look at them, right? And if I smile at a girl, I have random strangers worldwide saying he's giving evil smiles to women and he needs to be rid of the world. Either way, you get the idea. It just jumps from one thing to the next, showing that these people don't make any sense while trying to justify their actions and killing me. Needless to say, after this, now keep in mind I'm 12 years old and this starts before 12. And also keep in mind that I didn't put these puzzle pieces together until about 38 years old, showing that my family's claims at 5 years old that I'm a violent, paranoid schizophrenic that conforms to media is one of their claims. I have no self-control. I'm a danger to myself or others. You know, these claims are endless, but we're going to stick to the Kevin conforms to media because I had to put these puzzle pieces together. Well, after this so-called death stare to Christy Reynolds, which is some guy just thinking a girl's cute, which no one would, 99.9% people on this planet could put the 1 + 1 = 2 together, saying if a guy looks at a girl he's attracted to her, but apparently my family can't. Needless to say, after this, my family started doing what I've noticed that 29 has done to me all day and night, from movie to movie, from song to song, all sorts of freaky things like this. And what my family did was, right after this, this was around the time that the movie Creepshow came out. I'd have to do the math, but I know Creepshow came out in the mid-'80s, I think, sometime. Whatever, I'd have to do the math. But right around this time, my family, my mother tells me that, like, you know, I can't tell you exactly what day to what day this happened. I just know it's within this time period. My mother tells me that my brother Jason woke up. He went downstairs to the kitchen, and this is right after I watched Creepshow. He walked down to the kitchen, and the entire kitchen floor was covered with cockroaches, and she went down and saw it. Right? Okay, first of all, anyone with common sense is probably going to tell you, or it's extremely rare if someone tells you that an entire kitchen floor is covered with cockroaches. But I'm not saying it's not possible. It's pretty improbable. But the time frame right after this movie, which turned out to be paranoid schizophrenia, what they call street theater. They're dramatizing and acting out events from movies in front of me to try to flip me out, if that makes sense. So, and I've watched my family do it about 15 times in the last 6 months. They'll quote things out of movies, like recent movies, to sort of make me think I'm in the movie or something like that, right? And they'll do it in serious conversations. It won't be something, some comical saying like I do, right? A joking saying or a comical saying. They actually do it in serious conversations while trying to keep a straight face, or on the phone, showing no human gestures or behavior, showing they're joking around, but in actual serious conversations to try to make me look crazy. So anyways, we have Tom Farley, and he's working with Tracy Picos to send me reference messages. We have my brother and my mother working on the Creepshow references. And then what I found really interesting is about 40 years old, probably more about 43 or 44 years old, I decided to watch the original Creepshow movie. And to my surprise, there's a character in the movie named Reynolds, right? So now things are really getting strange and coincidental. We have a character named Reynolds. I can't remember which character is which. I think Reynolds might have been the lady that he didn't care if she got evicted and starved or something like that. I don't know. You'd have to watch the movie. But the point is that they're taking these references, or they're taking parts of these movies and trying to suggestively hint about them and apply them to my life, to send me reference messages to make me look like a schizophrenic. So that is what I forgot to talk about with Christy Reynolds, my family, the movie Creepshow, you name it. And these things are done from thing to thing. Like, for example, they might constantly hint about Indians and migrating people off land or out of their places, and then they'll have people follow me around in Jeep Cherokees. Like they had Kelly Hatch follow me up from Calabasas High to Southern Oregon State College. Obviously, her reasoning was to try to turn me into a schizo with the government and figure out ways to make me look like a violent, paranoid schizo and remove me from society. While they're collecting whatever she could to twist and contort and take out of context and give to the world with everything else. So these references I trace literally back to around 4 or 5 years old. The one that really irks me is, which seems to be the I guess the pivot point of my life, you could say, which applies to all the things being done to my entire life, is a movie called Wizards by Ralph Bakshi in 1977, which is a great movie. It's a cartoon, a little perverted like all of Ralph Bakshi's work. Hold on, let me just check my battery. This camera's a pain in the ass. Yeah, okay, we're good. Anyways, Ralph, Wizards is about a good brother and an evil brother, and they're both wizards. You know, kind of like the light and dark side type theme. So we have a good brother, we have an evil brother. They're wizards. And what the evil brother does is he has a secret weapon where he projects Nazi Holocaust imagery into the sky and stuns everyone while the future mutant characters kill the good side. And this is all obviously after a nuclear war type of theme. And so all these things were being done to me after this movie for my family to try to make it look like I conform to media. So, for example, I kiss a black girl at 8 years old at Sunny Skies Day Camp, which I mentioned in my other video diary, and all of a sudden I'm labeled a white supremacist, right? Why? Where does that come from? There has to be a reason behind it. I mean, people don't just, for no reason at all, label people white supremacists, tell the world they hate black people and all other races and cultures, and go ballistic on them and try to put them in the ground for no reason, right? We get there isn't any actual reason, but a family trying to make their son look crazy with the government and psychology community, right? So you watch this movie, it has all sorts of racial types of messages or statements about a good and evil brother, and one using basically Nazi or KKK tactics to kill people with Nazi imagery. And then we can apply that to my life, which I never thought was possible, but we have Kevin Perlman, and he's a really good person. And we have a Jason Perlman, which is a psychotic nut job. The brother that went out doing all his road rage shit and pinning everything he did on me with his friends. And then my friends doing the same types of things and pinning it on me. And then everything known to man was being pinned on me from everyone else's things. But yet I'm not told anything. I'm just turned 29 and find out there's a worldwide campaign to put me in the ground with their so-called laundry list of things they've supposedly collected that I've supposedly done, put in a list and given out worldwide to use against me. But yet this list is full of false allegations, lies, smears, defamation, and most importantly, everyone else's crap that they did, they're all pinning on me, right? Okay, so now you have these worldwide campaigns. They're pissed off at this guy, Kevin Perlman, but I'm told I'm imagining it. Now, why would that be? But yet all day and night, I get all sorts of threats and messages suggestively that you did this and you did that, applying to my brother's things, but nothing's ever directly said, except a few things from my family, which refuse to be explicit. For example, my mother said to me at 29, my past caught up with me and hinted that I better leave the country. My father told me I know what I did, but yet none of these people can tell me specifically what I did. Now, why would someone do that, right? some guy's being hunted by a worldwide support to kill them, and the only answer is, you know what you did. Well, I can tell you that. Tell you why they're being so vague. Everyone's being vague and in secret is because if I tell you that you did something wrong and there's a worldwide campaign to put you in the ground or lock you away in jail or whatever based on you did something, you're going to end up asking yourself, what is this about? And trying to go through your life and obsess on the past to try to figure out why people are actively hunting you down to put you in the ground. That is human nature and that is human genetics. And the more people that come after you to try to kill you or rid you of the world while telling you that you're imagining it, the more you're gonna try to go through your life and try to figure out why worldwide groups are trying to hunt you and kill you. So there is a whole premeditated psychological process that has been thought out and planned by the psychology community and our government to torture and kill me. What everyone is seeing is a strategy or a psychological warfare tactic with mass groups. Okay, I turned off the camera for a bit because it was getting really windy on the freeway, and I don't even know if the camera could pick up on what I was saying, but anyways, now I'm in some traffic. So I was talking about these psychological warfare campaigns, these mass groups all working together to send me references from everything, from movies, from songs, from visual cues, from people leaving things, people parking cars with suggestive messages, or leaving things in front of my house, or where I take walks to send me hidden messages about all sorts of aspects of my life. Going way back to early childhood, all through high school, college. And the first question that comes to your mind is, how do these people have this NSA data mined information, right? I don't know any of these people, but they're all given aspects of my life. For example, I have person after person trying to kill me and then say fuck you, hinting about my one and only argument with my mother at 14 where I said fuck you to her, as if anyone could remotely care less, trying to create obsessional looping, right? You get the idea. So this movie, so now the one question that always came to my mind at 29, for example, was, well, why does the entire black community want me dead, and why have they been hunting me my whole life? And then it jumps to Asians, and then it jumps to Persians, and then it jumps to this, and then it jumps to that group, based on me not doing anything to anyone. That's where it's strange. Like, normally, if the black community wants you dead, it means you probably did something horrific and racial, like go around trying to kill black people, right? And call them derogatory marks. But none of that happened because Kevin Perlman has been a really good person his whole life. So when you go from being a really good person, turning 29 and finding out there's a worldwide campaign to kill you, hinting you did something that's larger than building an atomic bomb and blowing up 100,000 people is strange. But all these accusations to me are of racial nature. Racial groups attacking me. So where does that come from? Why is Kevin Perlman accused of hating black people because he kissed a black girl around 8 years old, right? Well, it all seems to start right after my father took me to see Wizards by Ralph Bakshi in 1977. Then we have the good and evil brother parallel. Well, my brother was going out with all his road rage shit. He was putting license plate frames on his car that said, I swerve and hit people at random. They were loading the trunks of his car up with baseball bats and crowbars and all sorts of things that they could use as weapons. All these things that were pinned on me. And at one point my brother broke up with his cheerleader girlfriend, Jennifer Yang, or she broke up with him, and she cheated on him with my friend Greg Waugh. And after that, this was in high school. He just moved to University of Colorado. It was a long distance relationship. Oddly enough, my brother says to me, Jen can hang out with your friend Greg because Greg is a really good guy. But that statement, looking back now, is very odd. People don't generally say things like that, right? I have a girlfriend, she can hang out with your friend. So he was obviously setting the stage for something. My friends tell me that they think they might have saw Greg kissing Jen in the back of their station wagon. I think it was Tom Hope's station wagon. And things that you really don't care much about. It's not your girlfriend. You're outliving your own life, and why would you care one way or the other? Especially without any type of solid fact about anything. So anything, if I were to go say anything, would be based on zero fact. Basically, at this point, I think we went on a family trip to Nassau, and for some reason Jen came along, but you know, who's gonna really obsess on that, especially 30 years later. But Jen Yang came along, and she broke up with my brother on the trip, and he was pissed off and angry. And that is what happens in life, is you date people and it doesn't always work out and you move on, right? Okay, so anyways, after this, we find out that Greg Waugh is dating Jen Yang, my friend Greg Waugh, the big basketball player in my class, whatever. And so, you know, that's that. That's what generally happens on long distance relationships anyways. My brother goes off to college. He's surrounded by a million hot chicks and away from his girl, and his girl gets lonely and she dates my friend Greg, who my brother wanted her to hang out with, right? Okay, so that's what happens. They break up. She dates Greg, which turns out she's married to and has kids with, and who cares? No big deal. But after this, after the breakup, Greg Waugh comes over to my house, and he comes over to my house. Hold on, doing freeway lane changes here. Okay, so after this, Greg Waugh comes over to my house one day, and in my driveway, I can remember Greg Waugh comes over, and my brother comes out with a crowbar and he's coming after him like he wants to bash his skull in with a crowbar, and I jump in front of the crowbar and stop him. And obviously Greg leaves after that going like, you know, Jason's psychotic, which he is. And so after this, my brother, and this is very important, after this my brother gives me a big old speech about how blood is thicker than water. I need to support him on these types of things. He tells me that I should be giving all this information to him about Greg and watching Greg. All these freaky things like this, where I'm looking at my brother like, this guy's like crazy, right? Like, and I tell him, I'm not going to spy on my friends for you, and I don't want any part of that psychotic crap and this and that. Now, you know, sometimes when people give the blood is thicker than water speech, is in the context of family is more important than outside bullshit, but when you're talking about a mafia type of family that blood is thicker than water, you need to help me commit crimes or follow people around that are your friends and stalk them. No, absolutely not, right? So now, if you want to apply that to the parallels of the good and evil brother, right? Jason Perlman is exerting psychotic behaviors, and Kevin Perlman is exerting clear, rational, sane behaviors, polar opposites, and ironically everyone is mad at me for some reason, including the strangers in my neighborhood I tell these stories to, which then turn it around like, oh, well, I'm not going to help you because you didn't help. I'm not going to help you stay alive because you didn't help your brother try to kill your friend, right? Does that make sense? So they try to twist and contort these things to brainwash me and make them going after me look justified, which doesn't make any sense, right? The argument isn't valid, doesn't make sense. You didn't help your brother hurt someone, therefore we're not going to help stop these people from hurting you. Also, hold on just one sec. Okay, so you can see where things get weird and strange. Okay, you got this psychotic brother, and keep in mind, I don't come. I don't come from, you know, some crazy violent mafia Italian family or anything like this. I come from a family that I grew up in Rich Boy neighborhood, Hidden Hills, Calabasas, Woodland Hills. My family are all doctors. My mother is a psychologist or art therapist, and they don't fit the profile of mafia families or, you know, the average criminals with crews and this type of thing, right? So that's way out of context to begin with. I come from a family that wants their kids to go to college and do things with their life, supposedly. Yet, here we are with a brother that's exerting these psychotic behaviors, which isn't unheard of, but what is unheard of is that he's being supported by my family and the entire community, right? That's where things really fall apart and don't make any sense. that's where things get really strange. So anyways, I'm trying to think. See, remember that all these events are all connected, and that's the reason they're connected, is that they want to try to make me look crazy. Okay, yeah, so after this, my brother, this is where he starts to show his true colors, and this is really where things apply to my life. My brother, after this, tells me that he and his friends made a teacher mentally ill and put them in a mental institution. Now, that's a very strange thing to tell someone, but immediately in this same conversation, he also said that we have a bug in your room and we're listening to everything you do on the radio. Now, at the time, I thought he was just babbling weird, trying to be Mr. Tough Bully guy. I don't know, like he had something to prove, trying to be Mr. Tough guy. And so, you know, you just go, yeah, you know, this guy doesn't really have the resources to have bug tapping and all this crap going on and this and that. And well, I do not believe he actually had a bug in my room and was listening to everything I do on the radio, although the technology was there back then to do that. But what he was doing was trying to spark the seed to make me look like a violent paranoid schizo, a 5150. And what he probably wanted me to do was go to my family and go, Mommy, Jason has a bug in my room and is listening to everything I do on the radio, because then my family would get what they wanted, which they've been working on me for 46 years, is me to look crazy, right? So that didn't work because whatever, it just didn't work for whatever reason. I probably, between having good common sense and instincts, or just going, my brother's just trying to be, he's just acting weird or whatever, they of course turn that around on me as well, going, oh, you think you're some kind of tough guy badass by not going to the police and this and that, right? Well, how do you go to the police and say, someone has a bug in my room and they're listening to everything I do on the radio, without them going, this guy's nuts, right? So that's the catch-22 or double-blind scenario. No matter what you do, they're coming after you and they're trying to remove you from society. Okay, so, and that's the whole concept behind gang stalking, is trying to make people look crazy. So anyways, you get the idea. After that comment from my brother, we have the police arresting me, we have Topanga LAPD saying I'm 5150, crazy, a danger to myself or others. You have a brother at 16, I think, yeah, when I was 16, telling me these things, right? And no matter how much proof I get of these crimes against me, no matter how obvious, from people flattening my tires to people physically attacking me on video, the LAPD looks at it and says nothing happened, right? Okay, so now you know that the LAPD is heavily involved in these operations, because if you keep walking in with hard drives of proof of data of you being attacked all day and night, and every time they not only refuse to look at it, but you're met with all sorts of thugging, cryptic threats, then you know the LAPD is working with your family and brother on these setup operations to try to make you look crazy and trying to get reactions to lock you away or arrest you. But what that also tells you is that your brother really isn't a psychotic. He's just pretending to be, to try to peer pressure me into doing what he does. And he's doing it with motive to manipulate me, to remove me from society. And it's with full support from my family, friends, his friends, neighbors, police, government, NSA, FBI, you name it. Okay, so now you're thinking, That's pretty strange, but maybe you're not convinced yet. So now let's talk about some of the things that were done to me to try to make me look crazy. Now keep in mind, first off, my last name is Perlman, right? And it's spelled P-E-R-E-L-M-A-N, although people keep asking me why it's spelled that way, which is strange. And if you want to think about Pearl Harbor, Kevin Perlman, with all these racial analogies and Holocaust hints and references that start from 1977 with the movie Wizards, you can start to put the puzzle pieces together, how they're using names, visual cues, fragments of movies, and hinting about these things over and over in continual repetition to try to flip me out, make me look crazy. And so going back, let me go back to 14 years old. So, and just to keep some kind of timeline here, I've seen the movie Wizards. My brother turns into the psychotic polar opposite. I kiss a black girl. I'm labeled a white supremacist with all these lies to the world that I conform to the band Devo, Whip It Good, and somehow I hate black people because of this egg that, the bloody egg that my teacher in the cooking class that was unfertilized or fertilized, and a bloody chicken came out. Somehow I'll apply to my so-called anger and rage, I don't know, okay? And after kissing the black girl, I'll skip to age 14. Age 14, my father takes me on a cruise with Darren Moiselle, our neighbor and my brother's friend, who now writes for Hollywood, which is interesting because I've had Hollywood hunting me my entire life with the entertainment industry, and Darren Moiselle writes for Hollywood, which I have no factual proof of anything with Darren, but it is definitely brings question as a conduit with my brother and his friends who want to make me mentally ill and remove me from society. Darren Moiselle, my brother, me, my father, probably my father's girlfriend at the time, were taken on a Caribbean cruise, whatever, in the Bahamas. And just remember, Mr. Kevin Perlman with the Pearl Harbor last name is on a cruise in international waters. My brother's mad over his Asian girlfriend Jen Yang. You know, the time frames are all within the same several years. We're on this cruise, and for some reason I'm 14 years old and they're letting us go up to the bars and drink as much as we can, right? And at the time I was told, well, it's international waters and normally it's 18, but they don't really care. I can't tell you if that was all done to try to set me up as far as serving the alcohol, or they really didn't care. I can't tell you that. But what I can tell you is on this cruise, my brother and Darren wanted to drink every night, and so we had we drank shitloads. I think I drank like 10 to 15 shots each night and got sick a couple of nights. But it's not that we drank, it's what we were drinking. my brother, my brother and Darren, every single night would order B-52s and kamikazes, right? Well, anyone with enough high school degree and common sense will tell you that in Pearl Harbor, the Japanese fleet had kamikaze pilots, kamikaze bombing our ships, and we had B-52 bombers up in the air bombing in World War II, right? Now, aside from the endless World War II references from Japanese porn stars and things like this all over the world, how I'm some kind of crazy man who launches wars on people, which doesn't make any sense to me. I'm on a cruise. They're drinking their Pearl Harbor drinks. We're in the middle of the water. He's mad. I think at the time he's dating Jen Yang. This is probably before they broke up. And just getting me obliterated, right? Okay? So, right now, we're just kids, 14-year-olds, and my brother's 16, having a good time on a cruise, drinking as much alcohol as we can, but yet they're references to World War II. Okay, so now, my brother goes out and he buys a Kershaw knife from the boat store and he gives it to me, right? For no reason at all. He just gives me a knife, right? Now, this isn't illegal. It's not illegal to have a it's not illegal to have a Kershaw pocket knife. And lots of times kids' daddies give them Swiss Army knives. I'm not saying that's the end-all be-all crime, but it's not the knife, it's the reasoning. Why did my brother, who's running around trying to remove me from society, saying I'm a danger to myself or others, with the police and government, want to get me as drunk as possible, get a knife on me, and keep hinting about World War II references while telling the world I'm a violent paranoid schizo? Right? If I'm a violent paranoid schizo, the guy doesn't need to run around trying to turn me into a schizo. That doesn't make sense. You're either a schizo or you're not a schizo, but people don't follow you around sending you references all day and night and then say you're a schizo, because that's what you call trying to make someone look crazy. Okay? So he gets this knife on me, whatever, in hopes that I'll run around drunk, snap, and say, the Japs are coming and they'll sink us or something crazy like that. The same types of lies Tom Farley was working on me at like 7 years old, saying I saw an alien in his bathroom. You know, the same types of things. So, at this point, the only thing that really happens with the knife is I'm obliterated. We're playing ping pong. And I'm holding the knife and I try to close the knife, but my thumb, I'm so drunk that my thumb, I'm holding the blade backwards when I fold it up, that I cut my thumb on the knife while closing it, and my brother and Darren Moselle panic and take me to the infirmary, and my dad just looks at it and says, you know, just give him a Band-Aid, which they were right, there's never any scar or anything, so, you know, whoop-de-doo, no big deal. Well, that was still collected to use against me, that I'm an out-of-control, reckless, crazy man, for simply closing a knife wrong that my brother wanted on me to try to make it look like I snapped and was going after him with a knife, right? And so, there were all sorts of other weird things on that cruise, which I can't remember much. There's some incident with supposedly they had a fake stowaway girl named Sephora, I think, on the cruise. And so, I don't know. don't even remember. My brother and friends supposedly found her or something, and they didn't want to tell me what was going on. And I think I got a little mad at my brother because I didn't know what was going on, and he wouldn't tell me, you know, normal communication things. And then something weird happened, like they found her or something of hers, or I don't know, you know, it's so vague, but I can assure you it was some kind of weird setup or frame job like the rest. Anyways, but you get the idea how they're trying to use my last name and these cruises to try to make me look crazy, right? You know, then I can jump to, hold on. Then I can jump to age 14, where for some strange reason my mother asks me, which she denies like everything else, my mother asks me if I hit the neighbor kid in the head with a golf club, Josh Burnum, right? Of course, I don't believe that Josh Burnum was ever hit in the head with a golf club. I can't tell you because I'm not friends with him. He was in a grade below mine. He was one of our neighbors who I wasn't friends with, didn't know, didn't talk to. I just kind of knew of him. And supposedly he was hit in the head with a golf club. But I highly doubt it. And my mother came up and asked me if I hit him in the head with a golf club. I don't know why. I think to try to plant trigger mechanisms so that by the time I turn 30 and they tell me I did something wrong, but they won't tell me what I did, I obsess on things from my past, wondering why there's worldwide campaigns to kill me. And the first thing that comes to your mind are being asked if you hit someone in the head with a golf club, because there's zero communication in my family as to what I've done wrong. There's no, this is what you did, and this is what's going on. So there's worldwide campaigns to kill me in secret based on you did something, but we're not going to tell you. Okay, so my mother, of course, denies, like everything else, that she asked me that. The age 16, I found a bullet hole in my father's 300E Mercedes, and looking back, it could have been a... okay, so my camera stopped recording right after Josh Burnham, so I got cut off. So, anyways, I was mentioning my... I spoke a lot, and it didn't record. So anyways, we were talking about the age 16, my brother going out and doing all their road rage shit with his their slingshot pachinko balls, and pinning it all on me, but and obviously being told to by my family, where things really get spooky. So 16, I find a hole in my father's 300E, blue 300E Mercedes in his Woodland Hills house on DeSoto and, I don't remember the street, Avenue San Luis. Avenue San Luis, DeSoto, cross street, or street on the other side is Peralta. Ironically, I had a Pal Peralta skateboard. The street, or I should say, I found this hole and I told my father, look, you know, Dad, you have this freaking bullet hole in your car, whatever. So, that was pretty much that. I never really heard anything from it, but at one point, he and my brother had Paul Humphrey try to manipulate me into trying to get my father's gun out of his lockbox because he had a .357, which he says that his friend Bruce Simon gave him. But now looking back, I have a feeling that the reason he got the gun was to try to frame me or set me up, because I've watched him, or I've looked back at my life, and my entire life my father has been working on me with knife setup attempts, or sorry, not setup. Yeah, well, knife setup attempts and frame jobs, gun setup attempts and frame jobs, and every other setup attempt and frame job known to man. But my father's especially keen on his gun setups and frame jobs. So yeah, so there's a bullet hole in his car, and that's that. And that's all I really hear from it. But apparently everyone worldwide, he was telling I did it. And so even at the age 40, I asked him, you know, people have been hunting me down over guns for some reason. You know, is there anything that, or did you report this to the police or this or that? And he lies to me, or I don't know if he lies or not, but he says, no, I didn't report this to the police. It's not really a big deal. And I'm thinking, someone put a bullet hole in your car, why wouldn't that be a big deal, right? You would report that to the police. So instantly, he's lying one way or the other. He's lying that it's no big deal, and he's lying whether he reported to the police or not, I don't know, but I can tell you that the police are working with him to put the bullet hole in the car. So that was another frame job that I was hunted by people working with the police in college, University of Colorado and Southern Oregon State, to try to get these confessions, or I should say coerced false confessions from me. So we have the gun, we have, oh, another thing that was done to me in high school to try to set me up to look like I was angry and violent. Let's see, I was probably around 17. I was in Mr. Quigley's English class. He was also my PE teacher. And there was a kid named Scott, oh god, what was his name? Paul Shapiro. There was a kid named Paul Shapiro. He would bully me. Not super bad, but he'd push me over my desk in class, and he took like these Melody stripper cards and put them in my math teacher's drawer, Miss Brahaska. So one of the people that were sent after me, originally my brother's friend, Mike Huntley, at the age 14, this is interesting. So my friend is friends with, sorry, I'm trying to remember his name, Mitch Viner, in Calabasas High, and Mitch Viner lives in Lost Hills. And in Lost Hills, my brother meets Mike Huntley, which is 2 years older than my brother. And ironically, my middle name is Michael, so they're doing all these paranoid schizo tactics with my middle name and Mike Huntley. But Mike Huntley was 2 years older than my brother. I don't think he went to Calabasas High. I think he says like he went to Chaminade or something. So he kind of enters the picture. But I can tell now that he was paid off, or not paid off, but working with the police and FBI in these frame job and psychology community in these operations. Now Mike becomes, I'm in between. Keep in mind I moved back a grade in T1. So for example, I was in the same class as Tom Farley, then I moved back I was moved back a grade, and I was in between Tom Farley and my brother's grade. So I was right in the middle. So I was actually hanging out with my friends and my brother's friends on some things, which, if it really bothered anyone, they would say something, like my brother would say, hey Kevin, these are my friends, go get your own, or whatever, right? But nobody really ever said anything, so I've assumed that nobody cared, but then in my life there's no communication. It's just you farted wrong, we're gonna hunt you down and kill you the rest of your life. So anyways, Mike Huntley enters the picture, and Mike Huntley is told to do things like introduce me to strippers. Now, some people who are anal retentive might have something, feel that that's immoral, but the truth is, I mean, but it's not. Stripping is not illegal. So whether someone wants to put a judgment on a stripper is like putting a judgment on a horror movie, it's not illegal. Some people might not like them, some people might not agree, some people might not watch them, but everyone in America and most of the world accepts that it's not a big deal. Okay, but when Mike Huntley came in my life, these were frame jobs, and he basically introduced me to a stripper named Melody, who supposedly worked at the Candy Cat. And I was never friends with Melody. I didn't really know her. The only connection I really had is Mike Huntley told me that she needed someone to bounce for her at some bachelor parties because her normal guy couldn't do it. And that was that. And so I went to some cheeseball bachelor parties a couple of times and just stood there, make sure she was okay, whatever. I mean, as if she was going to be hurt anyways. But thinking back, I think the whole situation was faked, because the bachelor party, I think, was for some kid in high school that was getting married, and it just seems a little off, right? Okay, so needless to say, while I'm on this tangent, there were things Mike Huntley said to me, like her boyfriend tried to cut her brake lines, and she lived on a hill and got into an accident, which I have a feeling isn't true, first off. But second off, watching Mike Huntley make up lies about me, like I tried to choke him and things like that, I have a feeling he was probably telling everyone worldwide that I had cut her brake lines and tried to kill her. Whatever. I have no factual evidence on that one, and I haven't heard any direct comments, except people are mad at me for listening to music growing up for some strange reason that doesn't make any sense, and her name was Melody. Okay? And most likely the reason her name was Melody was because they wanted to send me their little cryptic hidden references about Devo and me listening to Damn Yankees, and Guns N' Roses is also a crime that I've listened to them, and every other band known to man, which doesn't make any sense. But getting back to the point, Melody gave me her stripper cards and said, give these out for me. And Paul Schaefer saw them in my math class, and so he thought it would be funny to take these stripper cards and put it in Miss Prohaska's drawer. Turns out now they're framing me all along. Another thing Paul Schaefer did was, in my Spanish class with Miss Garcia, I would always fall asleep in her class, and it was always after lunch, and so Paul Schaefer would set his like Casio type watch, set the alarm, and he would throw it under her desk, and then frame me. Of course, I didn't know everyone was being told it was me. And then at one point, back to Mr. Quigley's class, at one point, Mr. Quigley, or in front of Mr. Quigley, he pushes my desk over, right? So my desk falls on the side with me in it, right? And Mr. Quigley says, "Kevin, punch him," right? Now I can guarantee that none of you have ever heard about a teacher saying punch another student, right? Now, why did Mr. Quigley say that? Well, for 20 years after, I figured that while Mr. Quigley was always the cool teacher, like, he was the type of teacher that you could hang out and drink a beer with, right? That was Mr. Quigley's personality. So within the context of the situation, when Mr. Quigley tells you to punch another student, your first reaction isn't some gung-ho military reaction. This guy's trying to rid me of the world. Your reaction is a normal reaction, like, well, this guy, he's always been a really cool guy, so maybe he just fucked up. You know, a moment of imperfection, which happens to all of us, right? Everyone makes mistakes. Everyone screws up now and then, right? So my thought was, well, the cool teacher, Mr. Quigley, he just fucked up, and that is the stupidest thing I've ever heard a teacher say. But I'm sure as fuck not gonna punch a student, especially with a teacher telling me to. And now knowing that it was a frame job to remove me from society or try to make me look like a violent paranoid schizo. Now, where things really get strange is if I tell anyone this event, just like telling people about my brother and the crowbar, they're not concerned about the teacher's behavior. They're not concerned about my brother's behavior. My brother's behavior of making people mentally ill and trying to kill them, they're not concerned about. My teacher's behavior of telling me to hit other students is not a bad behavior. What they get mad about is that if I were to walk up to someone right now and tell them what happened, they would switch focus and they would say, well, why didn't you tell anyone? You're a bad person. You think you're a mobster. You're trying to be a tough guy. You're this, you're that, you're the other thing, blah, blah, blah. You need to be removed from society. Wait, that makes no sense. That makes absolutely no sense. And when someone acts like that in front of me, it's basically obvious that they're on the side of what the teacher was told to do. And they're trying to cover up these operations. It doesn't matter if I tell you now, it doesn't matter if I tell you then, what they did, they did. And so, it's irrelevant. The only thing that's relevant is that something freaky is going on, and these people want to remove me from society. So that was the Mr. Quigley trying to set me up to make me look like a violent paranoid schizo. And if you look at all these things that are occurring, no matter how many people attack me, no matter how much proof I have, no matter what's on video, the police and every single other person says it never happened and you're crazy. So that sums up the entire situation. Okay, so Quigley, I'm trying to gather my thoughts here because, like usual, I'm on 100 different tangents, but all these different tangents apply to the same connected conspiracy. My father with a gun. I'm not going to go in this entry into Eric Christensen and... Oh, sorry, didn't you... Oh, yeah, go ahead. So I'm not going to go into the Eric Christensen sent after me in Southern Oregon State College to get gun confessions, or Jason Baum with my brother and family in the University of Colorado. I'm going to save those for later. What I'm going to do is gather my thoughts here and take a break, and I'll start back up because I want to sort of try to stick to the time period of Christy Reynolds, middle school and high school, without going too far in the future or present or whatever, so you can understand the timeline of events. So I'll be right back after I figure out what topic I'm talking about. Okay, so I gathered a few of my thoughts because I'm going from here to there, which is normal in this situation when your entire life is one setup and frame job attempt after the next with endless mobbings all day and night 24/7, all connected to these events of psychological warfare, terror tactics to remove me from society no matter what it takes. But I'm thinking what I want to talk about now is going all the way back to, let's see, I think this is probably around 3rd grade in Round Meadow Elementary School by Hidden Hills, where I grew up in Hidden Hills until my mother and father divorced when I was around 13, and my father moved out to the Woodland Hills area of DeSoto and Avenue San Luis, next to Ventura Boulevard, which I would skate from Hidden Hills to Woodland Hills on skateboards, which was pretty damn far. Anyways, hold on, getting on the freeway, and it's free. So, I'm guessing it's around 3rd grade. It's hard, you know, when you're that young, you can't really, everything's fuzzy and it's tunnel vision anyways. But this seems to be the staple leverage point in my family with the government, psychology community to use against me and give to society to try to make me look like I'm a danger to myself or others with no self-control. And this is the dog bite, or the bite incident. And so, this incident has completely been blown out of proportion my entire life, just like everything else. And I'm not talking about drama, I'm not talking about gossip, I am talking literally taken out of context by creative writers to give to the world that I'm a crazy man and everyone should be in fear of me. And this is, around this time is when I bit someone on the hand. But when I say I bit someone on the hand, the first thing that probably comes to everyone's mind is someone bit someone on the hand and their fingers got ripped off and there was blood everywhere and the guy's convulsing on the ground and he might not ever live again and Kevin did this and we gotta watch Kevin and blah 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 blah, just like tapping my foot around Aubrey Fisher, right? Okay, now let's talk about the actual incident as it occurred, not from third parties, not from the government lies and their agenda to remove me from society, but the actual incident. I'm leaving, I got out of class, I don't even remember what these classes were back then, but I got out of class and I'm at Round Meadow Elementary School. I mean, I must have been really young. I mean, how old are you? 6 years old? I don't even know. I'm getting out of class. I'm taking a walk, or I'm leaving. I think at that time I walked home. I'm not sure. I think I might have walked home, although I'm awfully young, so I don't know if I walked home, but it seems like I was walking home from AE right all the way up to my house on Round Meadow. I think it was, Hoback Glen, right? Ironically, Hoback Glen. But, and this is a pretty far walk, actually, so it's hard for me to believe now that I made that walk, so I'm not sure if I walked it or not. But, you know what, it's getting kind of windy, so I'm gonna, well, whatever, I'll see if it would work. So I'm walking out of class, I'm walking where the school ends, I'm walking past the bike rack where the bicycles are. One of the neighbor kids, I don't know his name, he was a lot older, he was probably in like 5th grade, where, I don't know, probably like the last year of elementary school, so I'm a tiny little thing. He's a bigger guy. I'm a shy, quiet kid, a little timid. And I'm walking past the bike racks where the school ends, and he comes up from behind and says something to me, which I'm sure was harmless and nice, and I think he puts his hand on my shoulder or something from behind, and for some reason I turned around and I kind of bit his hand. But this bite was a harmless bite, okay? There's no fingers coming off, there's no bruising, there's no blood, there's no damage at all, there's no mark. It was just some weird defense mechanism of mine, and it wasn't really a big deal. Of course, that's not what my family's saying. That's not what the government's saying. I can't tell you what he's saying, but what I can tell you is that things like this, which are perfectly harmless and maybe a little out of the norm, are literally being used as psychological weapons to rid me of the world. Now, while people in Hollywood are told to put reference after reference used in movies to try to make me look like a violent paranoid schizo, people are taking things out of movies and music and all media and trying to use it to make me look like a violent paranoid schizo. One of the movies that they put a lot of references based on my life in is called Jupiter Ascending, and they have Mila Kunis wearing a blue and white flannel, which is the flannel I have, not the identical flannel, but the colors. It's been a while since I've seen the movie, but there's no doubt, and I'm pretty sure there's all sorts of other references in the movie directed at me, taken from my life and sort of used as parallels. The scene with the guy that the Aegis, I think they call him Aegises, the guy that bit someone's neck and tore it off. I believe, I'd have to watch the movie again to see how accurate the references are, but I'm pretty sure that character was kind of written up around me, and some of the things taken out of my life and put in movies to sort of use my life to write in the movies like are done with everything else. And so that character, I believe, is sort of based around me. Like, here's a guy that just for no reason tore out someone's throat and bit him, is actually sort of being applied to me on a parallel, while people run around saying that I'm a violent, paranoid schizo and a danger to myself or others. Because, sorry, it's loud. Because the writers are actually taking things from my life and putting it in their media. So that character who flipped out and tore someone's throat out, I'm supposed to be, and is almost like this character is an extension of Kevin, and so everyone worldwide knows that Kevin did this, and we're putting it into our movie scripts. But when it gets put into the movie script, it's like usual dramatized into a Hollywood event of horrific proportions and turned into entertainment, whereas Kevin didn't really do anything. He kind of sort of gummed someone's hand, if that's the way you want to put it, right? He put his mouth, a 5 or 6 year old put his mouth on someone's hand, and from there he's a danger to himself or others in society, right? So the point is that the government, the media, people worldwide are trying to turn my life into something it's not, make money off of it while I suffer and am hunted and killed. And then I'm met with death threats that I better not tell anyone or talk, and I better learn to accept what's going on. But we have to trace this back to why my family and the media are trying to turn me into a violent, paranoid schizo and remove me from society in the first place. And they stem back to these childhood events, which are completely harmless, but when collected, twisted, contorted, given out to the world, it's done so with malice, premeditation, and intent to do what it takes to rid me of the world, no matter what it takes, saying that I'm a danger to myself or others, and with lies from my own father, which people are afraid of me, which I think he actually took from the movie The Wraith, which have all sorts of hidden messages in it, and that movie directed at me, or I don't know if I don't think back then the messages were actually put in the movie. I think what happened was my family was taking, with everyone else, was taking the messages or taking what was going on out of the movie and doing it to me. So, for example, the movie The Wraith comes out, and there's a guy named Augie in it, and my family goes out with my brother looking for Starions, which they never bought, Mitsubishi Starions, which for my brother, which they never bought, and all these things are coincidences around my life, and the question is, well, are they just coincidences or not? But when things starts to go from movie to movie, and everyone's mad at you, that's when you have to question what's going on. And so, where was I? The car, the story in the movie, the Wraith. I was talking about the dog bite. and the dramatizations based on this harmless event. Oh, that's right. And my father basically stating that people are afraid of me, but he can't specifically tell me why people are afraid of me. Did I hug someone incorrectly? Did I yawn wrong? Right? Are people afraid of me because I went out and I built my own cars at 16, right? Well, these aren't reasons anyone's afraid of anyone. So, well, people are supposedly afraid of me. There's no actual reason, like everything else. They're afraid of me, but why? Well, the people that tell me these things can't specifically, in a direct sentence, that an adult would talk to someone, address these issues. They can't communicate what it is they are so angry about that they've been hunting me my whole life. Then they, of course, they try to turn it around that I have no communication skills because I don't like being hunted and killed with people who tell me I'm imagining it, right? Turning the entire situation around like usual. So, you kind of get the idea that I've now traced my life back to, God, I don't know, what is that, 6 years old? I have no clue. And this little harmless event is being collected and used against me as one of the biggest crimes known to man. And absolutely nothing happened. Nothing at all. No one got hurt. There was no damage. Granted, a little strange. Oh, and the biggest topper, my family somehow trying to use that, right? And this is actually very laughable, but my family's trying to use that not only am I a schizo, but I'm a schizo that thinks he's a dog, right? Now, I highly doubt there's many schizos out there that think there's dogs, although, you know, my life isn't dealing with schizos, but you get the idea that something not right or kosher is going on, and at 46, being followed around, being told that I have to somehow admit that I think I'm a dog or something like that is very strange. And to me, someone that follows you from place to place saying you have to admit you're schizo and crazy and you think you're a dog or you have 24 split personalities, yeah, right. And these split personalities actually, the whole concept of Kevin has 24 split personalities actually comes from me going to 24 therapists, them all refusing to help me and let me talk about my life, trying to lock me away and throw me in jail and mental institutions. And after I stated on my website, I went to 24 psychologists and they refused to help me, and they were contacted and approached. They about a year later, the movie, maybe a couple years, the movie Split came out. Of course, the character's name is Kevin. He has 24 split personalities. Some of those personalities are taken from my Twitter, my social network joking personalities. There's all sorts of things taken from my life put in that movie. Now, why was that done? Well, the psychology community got mad that I came forward with what's being done to my life. Now, that is pretty strange. That psychologists would be mad if someone finds out he's being hunted with psychological warfare, and so he comes to them for help, and they decide they're gonna fucking rid him of the world and put even more hidden messages in movies to belittle him and make the world to belittle me or make the world think I'm a crazy man or whatever. I mean, they jump from thing to thing, like the movie, like Mike Huntley would show me the movie Fight Club, and then people would start doing, provoking me out of like the movie Fight Club, hinting that I'm like Tyler Durden and things like that, right? So it just goes from thing to thing, but the question is, why is the psychology community working with producers in Hollywood to make the movie Split and putting messages in the movie Split to send me hidden messages to try to make me crazy, to revenge me for finding out at 29 that I'm being hunted and killed, right? Doesn't really make much sense. Okay, but since we're on the whole media topic, before I forget, let's go back to my early childhood. Around the age 14. Age 14. This is the big old one time ever argument with my mother age where I said, fuck you, who cares what people think, and that was the end all be all. She snapped, and there's a worldwide campaign to help kill me over as well, right? Well, that's crap that every family has children, and children that disobey their parents or argue with their parents or even say fuck you to their parents, and it's perfectly normal. And normally the parent says, you know, go to your room, whatever. And my family said, I lost control of my son, now I'm gonna fucking develop psychological warfare operations around him the rest of his life to torture him with kind of like psychological shocking, you could say, to torture him every time they're having a bad day or don't like any aspect of my life or behavior, right? Instead of saying at the age 14, go to your room or you're going to be dealt with or whatever, right? Okay, so this is the family we're dealing with. So at 14, I was cruising around on my little, my family bought me an 80cc motorcycle, a green Kawasaki 80 two-stroke, which is unbelievably loud. And so my father had a little yellow and black 100cc tiny little motorcycle he never rode in the garage, and I rode that one around because it was a 4-stroke and it wasn't loud like the 2-stroke, right? Now, one of the things said about me is that I'm a reckless 14-year-old that thinks he can do whatever he wants, and I'm riding around on motorcycles in hidden hills, and I'm causing problems, and I'm an out of control monster causing havoc and chaos and this and that. But that doesn't make any sense. The real story is that Kevin Perlman is that Anita and Ron Perlman bought Kevin Perlman an 80cc 2-cylinder dirt bike to ride around on, and if they didn't want me riding motorcycles, they wouldn't have bought me a motorcycle. Now, while we're riding motorcycles, these harmless little motorcycles around the neighborhood, Tom Farley was riding on their little 50cc motorcycles. His parents bought them. Marcus and Wayne Thuna, a little bit older, were riding around on their 250cc motorcycles by Thuna's Wayne. Wayne Thuna. Not Taylor Wayne, but there's probably a whole sub-story about that porn star and Wayne Thuna. Anyways, we're riding around, and that's that. It's pretty harmless. Kids riding tiny little miniature motorcycles that their parents bought them, and nobody could care less normally. even to the point where Brian Weaver had a YSR 50, and same with Josh Rotenberg, and they biffed it going down the hill, and Brian Weaver had to wire his jaw shut, but nobody was mad at him. And I don't know, right after that period, Josh Rotenberg's family moved. I don't know if it was related. And so, but yet people are running around like I've caused all these problems in the neighborhood by riding around on 100cc, hinting that I stole my father's motorcycle and did all these things, right? Complete absurdity. But yet nobody questions how this information that nobody normally could care less about is getting out worldwide, the entire planet, taken completely out of context, turned into complete fiction, probably by hired creative writers, with worldwide mobs to kill me over, and then me saying fuck you to my mother, who cares what people think, as if something actually happened out of the norm. It didn't, right? The entire neighborhood was riding around on little dinky, tiny little motorcycles, and nobody could care less. It's just Kevin Perlman. He's a monster. So anyways, at this point, while we had these motorcycles, my brother and Darren Moselle made their movie. And this completely seems to apply to the entire situation, even though this starts when I was 5 with Ralph Bakshi's 1977 Wizards with the Good and Evil Brother. My brother and Darren Moselle want to make their little kid movie, and so my brother and Darren, we had, you know, that was the video camera age where they were pretty huge and VHS and whatever. But my brother goes out and he makes, him and Darren, they make a little video. Who knows whatever happened to it, who cares? And they called it Psychos, right? And I don't even remember if there was a story behind it, because these are just kids screwing around with a video camera, but I can't remember a few of the events. One of the events, I think I was hosing off some bees in a tree at our house with a beehive, which somehow that makes my family mad. I don't know why. During the video, I can recall, I think it was my brother hitting Tom Farley in the head with a crowbar, but Tom Farley was wearing a helmet, so he didn't really hit him in the head. He hit him on the helmet pretty hard, and I remember Tom Farley going like, ow, you know, what the fuck, what did you do, right? I can remember out by our backyard and pool, Darren Moselle holding a knife to my throat and saying, let's make him the 5th member of the Bee Gees in their little video. And of course, I can remember the rest of the video, we just rode around on stupid 100cc motorcycles, sporting around Hidden Hills, and the movie really wasn't much of anything, but yet for some strange reason, people everywhere in the world hint about it as if I did something wrong or there's a crime. They have endlessly tried to flip me out with people like, what was his name? Victoria Walker's original boyfriend, Michael Bialis, sent after me by Brian Longbotham, who was supposedly a forensics accountant and a law student, was working on some angle with the Bee Gees, applying it to my childhood in this movie Psychos. But remember that we're talking about a family that's trying to make their son conform to media, and we have a brother, he's making a little video movie with Darren Moselle called Psychos, and they're taking me on cruises, trying to hint about World War II references over and over, trying to flip me out. And we have a brother telling me that he has a bug in my room, and they're listening to everything I do on the radio to try to turn me into a paranoid schizo. And he's also tells me that he put a teacher in a mental institution and made them crazy. all are relevant and apply to the media, to my brother making these little videos called Psychos, to him being the evil psychotic brother. Unfortunately, my family and psychology community helping him with these events. You know, what's the reasoning? The reasoning is, like I originally said, we want to make you think you're in a movie, right? Example, we made our little cheeseball movie called Psychos. My brother kept showing me horror movies with his friends, hoping to flip me out. None of it worked. And then the rest of my life, people keep hinting about the movies over and over. For example, my brother shows me Toxic Avenger, and I'm not going to say I didn't like it, it's pretty damn funny, but with all the B movies, Toxic Avenger, which you can rent or download or stream, it's all over the place, by Trauma Films, and ironically they filmed Toxic Avenger 2 at my high school, and I don't think that was a coincidence either. People will run around saying that I suffer from trauma after seeing Trauma's Toxic Avenger. Starbucks employees, when they see me or other places, will start sweeping like the character Melvin in Toxic Avenger. What else? People on Twitter and Facebook will say things based around me, like always stay away from toxic relationships, and all sorts of other hints that they're subtweeting that they want me to hear, trying to make it look like it's a normal comment, but it's actually, you know, it's partly normal and it's partly directed at Kevin Perlman, hence the definition of a subtweet. And these subtweets I get are like 7 out of 10 per person worldwide on every social network, blog, forum, spam emails, you name it. So you can see how, yeah, okay, my brother shows me the movie Psychos, or puts me in this movie Psychos, and then he's really trying to break my mind to make me think that I went through some kind of traumatic thing, and that I think I'm in a movie and I'm not well grounded, and I conform to media. And this isn't one person or a couple of people. This is mass worldwide groups taking turns on me all day and night. So yeah, so his little Psychos movie, which I couldn't even really care much about or remember, all of a sudden comes back to the surface when you're watching Stranger After Stranger somehow try to guilt you or use it against you somehow. They just keep hinting about it over and over. They want some kind of information or confession about the movie, right? Well, that's strange. It's strange on all levels, and the biggest level it's strange on is that Stranger After Stranger has been given this NSA data mine collected information on the most minute detail, to the point where people could probably tell me every parking spot I've ever parked in is not normal behavior, and there's no reason anyone would do that to try to torture someone and make them look crazy, and give this out to the entire planet so that you could never have a normal life, trying to put them in a position where you either accept this insane, messed up situation, or they kill you, where they've tried to blackmail and thug me on medication, which really didn't change a thing because there is no medication for being hunted and killed. I mean, hey, take the anti-be murdered pill, right? Can't happen. Not gonna happen. Not realistic. So what these people are doing doesn't really make any sense. They're trying to make me look crazy. They're trying to gaslight me. They're trying to make it look like I conform to media. And, well, if I give you one example, you could say, well, that's a coincidence and you're too sensitive. But if I can give you 100,000 examples in detail, showing things that cannot statistically happen over and over, then that's way out of the ballpark. And that's what's going on. For example, let's say I come up with some off-the-wall witty statement, like I say fucktard on Twitter, and then for the next year everyone uses the term fucktard, or it switches to I made a comment that I thought like Alexis Amore, which then I find out later on is involved in all these things with my family and Brian Longbotham, has good vibes, and now everyone worldwide, including businesses, use the term vibe. And I'm not going to say that the word, I came up and invented the word vibe, but what I am going to say is that when I said it, that's when it became popular. For example, yeah, people said it from time to time, but once I said it, now it's said like 1,000 times per day. And it goes from thing to thing like that. Little cryptic, the world revolves around Kevin type of paranoid schizo tactics. So, with enough statistical information, I provide, and the facts and proof, and screenshots and videos and photos and you name it, I have endless proof of these crimes. The real problem is, why doesn't anyone want me to ever talk to anyone, right? That's what makes things a lot more obvious. I've had the psychology community play these games like, we can't help you, so therefore you're not allowed to go to a psychologist or a therapist and just talk about your life. Well, that's unheard of. Nobody would ever tell you that, whether you're crazy or not, especially if you're crazy. Let's say if I really was a paranoid schizo. If I was a paranoid schizo, there is no reason why a therapist would not tell you that you're not allowed to go to them and tell them about your life. There is no reason. And unless they're living their lives in a fantasy world, like the movie Split is somehow really true, then they might be afraid, but that is not a well-grounded individual, and that is not someone that should be in the psychology community. And the fact is that most people who actually suffer from mental illness are harmless, and from what I've witnessed, it's not the people who suffer from mental illness that are in danger. Or, I mean, it's not the people that don't suffer from mental illness that are in danger. It's the people that do suffer from mental illness, or are labeled someone who suffers from mental illness, are actually in danger, from what I've seen. Because I have watched the psychology community label me with the police and hunt me my entire life with claims that I could be dangerous, but they've destroyed my life and done horrific, unimaginable, unspeakable things, which are actually are crimes. And that's the point, is their argument is that if they label you as crazy or they don't like you, they can kill you. But if you're crazy and harmless and have done nothing wrong, then you're not allowed to defend yourself, say anything, do anything. And that label means that anyone can hunt you down and kill you, because for no reason, because they just labeled you as crazy or paranoid or this or that. But the reality of the situation is, if someone's paranoid or labeled paranoid, that's not a crime. Crimes are based on actions. So if someone is crazy but harmless, then they haven't done anything wrong. And if someone's sane and says that person's crazy, I'm going to kill them, then they're murderers. That sums up everything that's going on. Is where Kevin Berlin, me, has done absolutely nothing wrong. My family throw these labels at 5 years old, I'm a violent paranoid schizo, then hunt me down with worldwide support with the police, government, NSA, FBI, and try to have me killed or eradicated, is the crime of all crimes. The largest crime known to man in the history of humanity. Billions of people worldwide working on one man his entire life to have him killed based on some kind of label that he's crazy. There has never been a crime in history like that. So anyways, I'm gonna stop from here and take a break, and